Thank you, Sal. I really appreciate that. Again, that's some of the highlights that are in this document that you have to read. You can't make a decision without reading this document. Now, I just want to go back to a few other points that Mr. Baumann was answering during the course of everybody asking questions. One is that he had no problem putting in the verbiage for funding that it has to come back to this council. Is that correct, Mr. Baumann, through the chair?
I mean, the question, it's not up to me, okay? It's up to the council. The question was, would that be a substantive change requiring a new introduction? And on the eminent domain issue, I think I answered that I did not think that would be a substantive change. Okay. Because I think it's important to probably say again, because I know a number of speakers have mentioned it, the redevelopment agency can't exercise eminent domain, in my opinion, because you have an ordinance in place, and the redevelopment agency will be subject to that ordinance.
Okay. Thank you. Again, since Mr. Baumann said there is no substantive change on the funding area, it'd be only prudent for this council to utilize your attorneys, your expert, to put those words in to protect both this township and all of the residents. Now, getting back to the eminent domain issue, as many people have talked about it, as I said many times regarding eminent domain, we look at this and there's articles brought up, and I guess one of the ones I just want to bring up, even New Jersey State's public advocate has been fighting eminent domain for years, for literally years. And he's one of the ones who's leading the charge in Long Branch, Fallsboro, Lodi, and Harrison. And this is an old article. There's more. There's more. And again, I'm going to say that this council originally stated that they were willing and ready and able to put that verbiage in this ordinance. So I'm going to be questioning the reason why you don't want to do it now. Again, I agree with what Mr. Baumann said, that any new plan that comes up comes to this council and you have the right to put it in the verbiage that you're not going to have any eminent domain, you're not going to do this, you're not going to do that. I agree with that 100%. That's the way the statute also reads. However, with this application, it's precluding you from these areas. Now I don't know how you go back and say, well, we didn't really mean this list. We didn't really mean this. How do you do that? I'm going to ask the council, if you table this, which I think you should, and really look into this, is come up with a list of the developments that this council is going to keep control on, and what other areas that you're going to give to the redevelopment agency, and with what purpose and charge. Because that's the purpose of this redevelopment agency, as was stated by Mr. Baumann and by Mr. Lear, that this is only an agency that's going to activate and implement what the plan is. I agree with that. But it's up to you to decide who it has to be to. And with this eminent domain, again, it has to stop here. Getting back to the funding. The funding for the first $160,000 is for the executive commissioner and the secretary. That's it. If you want your expertise, which is your planners, your engineers, and your architects, the fees are more than that. Now, I'll give you a little quick, for instance. We had two. We had an attorney and an architectural firm that was helping us with Harts Mountain. That fee turned into $300,000 plus on one site. This council is going to use the agency as a soundboard to say, well, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Your fees, and at the same time, you're charging the taxpayers for this with no limit. I don't know how you control it. This is our taxpayer dollars. And it shouldn't be us. It should be the developer. Just like Harts went into an agreement to pay, I believe the Kaplans, who are also in the redevelopment area, should have went into an agreement to pay. And anybody else coming up who wants it should come into an agreement to pay. It shouldn't be our burden, because eventually, at the end of the day, it's our town, and this is what you're here to protect. Some of the other things that is quite obvious is all of the other areas. Economic revitalization. This is on our website. Pretty easy to read. Business incentives. One of the big things is Redevelopment Bond Financing Act. And we talked briefly about that. Who's going to pay for that? As far as I'm concerned, the developer should be paying for that, never the taxpayers. Never. We don't have the same type of towns as that needed that, where the taxpayers had to fund it originally. That's the letter I sent you. I gave you all of this information in the, I don't know, 7 or 8 page letter I sent you over 3 weeks ago. And the list of business parks, there's over 12. The list of retail centers, another 12. These are all the areas that you're going to look at, every single one of them. And then when you get into the economic revitalization areas, I'm going to name them for you. Clara Barton, Amboy Avenue, Edison train station. So when people were saying that it wasn't there, here it is. It's in black and white. Edison Town Square, which is the Ford site on Route 1. Heller Industries, Metro Park, Oak Tree Road, Raritan Center, Raritan Waterfront, Revlon, the Route 1 corridor, Route 27 corridor, and Dreyfus. And there's more. You can't ignore this. You can't ignore this application and the stuff that's in this application. Otherwise, you're voting on, I wouldn't even call it half of a pie. I'll call it a sliver, slight sliver. And again, there was one thing that was,
Mr. Karabinchak.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Okay.
I'll come
Ms.
back.
Wells?